think of fast food, you think of a burger, and when you think of a burger, you want to make sure it's nice and cheesy. So let's do just that. Let's prepare a delicious cheese stuffed burger. For that, I'm going to be using chicken thigh mince because that's the kind of meat which is not going to go dry and it's going to remain nice and juicy. So into the chicken mince goes some onion. I'm also going to add some garlic. I'm going to add a tiny bit of breadcrumbs, just a little sprinkling to ensure it stays well binded. And I'm also going to add in an egg. So let's just crack it into a bowl. And just give it a little whisk. I'm going to add in half of this. Now let's add in some crushed black pepper. And finally some salt for seasoning. Just going to cover this. And I'm just going to give this a good whiz in the mixie. So I'm just going to get this out in a bowl. The chicken mince for the burger patty is almost ready. Well, it's not really almost ready. We still got to put a lot of cheese into it. But I'm going to start caramelizing some onions because that's going to take a while. So I'm just going to heat a pan, melt some butter in it. And once the butter starts to melt, I've got some onion rings with me here, which I'm just going to roughly crush and add to the pan. And now there's not much we need to do to these onions. Just let them sit in this pan and let them get that beautiful, gorgeous, golden brown caramelization on them. And we'll get back to our patty in the meanwhile. So I've got the chicken mince mixture here, which is ready. I'm just going to chop up some rosemary and add it to that. So just give it a rough chop. I'm using fresh rosemary here, but you could use any herb of your choice, dried or fresh versions of it. And now we want to give this a good mix again. And since we are making a cheese stuffed burger, let's move on to the cheese. So the cheese that I'm using today, I'm going to be using two varieties of cheese. So I've got a portion of grated mozzarella with me here. And into this, I'm going to mix some feta. And I want to mix it up really well so that every time you take a bite of that burger, it just keeps you guessing which cheese this really is. This is done. I'm just going to season this with the slightest hint of black pepper. Give it a final mix. And now we're going to start assembling the patty. And I've got a ring mold which is just going to make things easier for me. I'm just going to grease it slightly with some butter just to make sure that the mixture doesn't stick inside and it comes out nice and easy. I'm going to start with just layering a portion of the mince mixture that we prepared into this mold. And now I'm going to stuff the cheese mixture inside this. So now I'm going to just take a portion of the cheese mixture, shape it into somewhat of a patty, and we're going to put it right in the center. We press it down a little. And now we're going to top this up with more of the mince. So I'm just pressing it down slightly to give it like sort of better shape. So while our patty is shaped, we're just going to put it aside for a bit and just check on our caramelized onions again. I'm just going to add some sugar to it just to bring out some of the natural sweetness of the onions and help it caramelize a little more. I'm just going to add a tad bit of red wine to this and give it a mix. And we're just going to let this reduce for a bit more. In the meanwhile, we can move back to our patty. And what we got to do now is we got to crumb coat it and fry it. So I've got a pan here in which I'm going to heat up some oil. So now for the crumb coat, I'm going to be using a mixture of cornflakes and breadcrumbs. So I've got some cornflakes with me. I'm just going to crush up with my hands. Mixing the cornflakes and the breadcrumbs together just gives you so much more texture. And now I'm going to add in some breadcrumbs to this and just mix it up nicely. I'm just going to add in a small pinch of salt for seasoning. And just give it another final mix. So I've got some of the egg left from using in the mince. I'm just going to give a quick egg wash to this to make sure that it sticks well. And now you need to lift this up really carefully. And now just coat it with the egg on the other side as well. Make sure you've got the crumb coated on it nicely. And now we're ready to fry this. So very carefully put this into the oil. You could deep fry this, you could pan fry it, you can even shallow fry it like I'm doing today. A little bit of mustard, and then some ketchup. Some of the caramelized onions that we prepared. Finally, I'm going to top this up with a slice of cheese. And now for the top slice, just drizzle it with some more mayo and cover the top. So now let's just transfer this onto a serving plate. So while I figure out how to get a bite of this glorious burger into my mouth, I hope you guys try out this recipe and let me know how it was.